Hey everybody, Mark Wilson with your webcam once again. I got a couple of emails this week that said, hey, where's that Will Bynum piece you promised us? A little Pistons profile on the guard Will Bynum. Well, I aims to please, so on yournews.com, the Parker and the Man page, you got your wish, a little Will Bynum profile. Will Bynum, very interesting guy. This is a kid out of Chicago Crane High School who started off at Arizona, played for Lute Olson, played very well for a couple of years, decided to transfer after a sophomore year, and ended up at Georgia Tech playing for Paul Hewitt, Rob Parker's buddy, Paul Hewitt. So the interesting story part is, with his college career, in 2004, if you remember the Final Four, that team, Georgia Tech, rolled out of Atlanta and all the way through this thing, and played Oklahoma State in the semifinal game. And you can see it on YouTube. I watched it a few times. He hit the big shot, the big running lay-in, Will Bynum, to beat Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. It was a 65-all game. They beat them to play UConn in the finals. And the irony there is, of course, that Will Bynum, now a Piston, playing with Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva, who were on that team for the UConn Huskies of Jim Calhoun. So check that part out. Read all about that. The other interesting part is, if you remember the great game that Bynum had for the Pistons towards the end of last season, April 5th, 2009, which would have been 5 years to the night from that championship game that he played in against UConn, Emeka Okafor playing for the Charlotte Bobcats the night that Will Bynum set the Pistons record with 26 points in the fourth quarter. That beat Isaiah Thomas's old record of 24. In fact, Zeke did that twice, 24 points in the fourth quarter of a game. So Will Bynum has that record now. He erased Isaiah's name, and his name now adorns the Pistons record book there. Another interesting part of Will Bynum's career was an incident in Tel Aviv when he played for Maccabi out there, the Tel Aviv team in Israel, and you can read about what happened to him. It was pretty dicey stuff, pretty hairy stuff for Will Bynum, but he's been through the rigors. He's only 26 years old. He knows what the NBA business is all about. He only had a brief cup of coffee, and I don't think a sweet roll, Rob, with Golden State back, what was it now, 3-4 years ago. Was out of the NBA for a couple of years playing in Tel Aviv, and all of a sudden busts out with the Pistons and had that bust-out game against Charlotte that night. That really helped him because, as it turns out, they just eked into the postseason, and that game was big. So now Will Bynum, all of a sudden, is blowing up in the preseason. 4 games in, he's got 72 points. He scored 23 more points in the loss to the Washington Wizards on Tuesday night. But there he was, off the bench, 72 points in 4 games. So that's what I'm almost reading you the column now. You got to read it. You got to go there to read it. So it's all about Will Bynum, number 12 of your Detroit Pistons. Okay, it's one of my many Pistons profiles coming up before the start of the regular season. Also, you can read about Tom Izzo Day. I call it Izzo Day because it's his big press meeting today, Wednesday, with the media. Detroit, Lansing, all around the state they'll come because the Spartans are ranked number 3 in most polls preseason. Kalen Lucas and company getting ready for a little defense of that national championship game. Didn't win it all. I'd like to go back and win it all this time instead of losing to North Kakalaki, North Carolina. But obviously Michigan State will be very much on the national spotlight when it comes to college basketball. They also have Midnight Madness coming up in Focus, I will mention to you. In Focus it will be on Friday night. And Michigan, I want to diss John Beilein. He's got his own Michigan Madness on Friday too. So you could, it starts at 8. You could actually go to Ann Arbor, drive to East Lansing, and see them both. You can go to two Madnesses in one night. It's not bad. Good value, high value since it's free. So you go. You got Spartan Midnight Madness and Michigan Madness with John Beilein and the Michigan Wolverines. You know, P.D. Sims and Manny Harris look like they're going to be ready to cook and get back to the level that they were at last year, 20-win level in NCAA tournament time, and maybe just a little bit better than that. I don't know about contending for the Big Ten title yet, but you know, Beilein's done stranger things. He did them in West Virginia with Mike Gansey and Kevin Pittsnoggle. I got to say Pittsnoggle again. Pittsnoggle. Had those two guys there at West Virginia. The Wings lost at Buffalo. Once again, got to do this. Not good. 6-2. Ozzie got pulled after giving up 4 goals in the second period. Ryan Miller out of Michigan State. He's something for Buffalo. But it's the first time the Wings have lost against the Sabres in regulation since 2002. Their 2-3 start, worst in 9 years for the Wings, but it's 2-3, and it's October. So let's not go crazy here with the Red Wings. They're fine for right now. Chris Chelios skating with the Chicago Wolves of the American Hockey League. Bound and determined, as I write, to get to 50. He wants to play at 50. He told me that years ago. At least he implied that he wanted to play to 50. He won't come out directly and say 50 is a big deal to him. He just wants to keep playing hockey till he can't play hockey no more. And since he got let go by the Wings, he's back in his hometown of Chicago, and the Wolves are a good opportunity at least to showcase his talents for an NHL team. The Wolves are an affiliate of the Atlanta Thrashers. Don Waddell, who used to be with the Wings, their GM, has given no indication that if he does sign with Chicago, that he would be willing to call him up to Atlanta. So we don't know about that yet, but Chelios isn't worried about that. He wants to play some hockey, and he could be signed as early as today, tomorrow, with the Chicago Wolves of the AHL. And I want to give a shout-out to my buddy Mark Schrimmer. It's his 50th birthday. Big White Sox fan, big Cubs fan. You know, it's like the odd couple. How have two people gotten along? One White Sox, one Cubs. Find out. But a shout-out, 50th birthday, I'll give it up to him. Made it to 50. And two wonderful children to boot, too. So just a little birthday shout-out to a big White Sox fan in Detroit. Yeah, you do with it what you want. All right, so check it all out. The Will Bynum piece, Tom Izzo Day today. Every time it's Izzo Day, it's a happy day, right? The Izzone. March Madness. Let's try Midnight Madness before March Madness. That's this Friday. Don't forget about that in East Lansing and in Ann Arbor. The Wings lost to the Sabres. Chelios with the Wolves, and Schwimmer's birthday. There you go. You can all call him. You can all text him. You can all tweet him. Say happy birthday there, Sammy. All right, there you go. It's on the Parker and Man page, yournews.com. Happy navigating, everybody.